But yeah, without further ado, we have Dan returning on his tutorial on how to hack Active Directory. So yeah, thank you so much, Dan.
Nice. Hello everyone, I'm sure some of you know me, most of you probably do. This is a third and final install of attacking Active Directory for basically just for kind of beginners. So this talk isn't designed for experts like that know everything to do with Active Directory. If you've administered it, you might learn a few things, but it's formed for people that haven't really dealt with Active Directory, more you junior pen testers, more you kind of defense guys or people, sorry, and yeah. So hopefully you learn something, and will catch me after if you have any questions. It's fine. Jess, actually, can you sit?
Yeah, sure. I'll just sit on the floor.
Yeah, if you don't mind. Like, sorry, I didn't bring a clicker. Clearly, I was not prepared.
No, please.
We'll go over with who am I. As I say, most people know who I am, but as I'm Dan. Just, it's fine, I'm a bit blurry, it's fine, not a problem.
Sorry.
Right, Jess, yeah, there we go.
I'll just stay here.
Apologies for that. We are clearly professionals here at DEFCON. So I've been a pen tester for about 9 years. I've recently gone into virtual simulation testing, which is like red teaming, over at JumpSec. Been doing it 9 years, 2 years network engineer. I'm an all-round like pen tester type of guy, interest in defense, I have passion for home labs, storage, everything kind of nerdy. Much to my wife's dismay that she thinks everything I do is work when it's actually also my hobby and my work. Anyway, you can find me at GitHub. I put out a lot of tools, a lot of AI tools as well that I think are just quick wins that people might like. Feel free to criticize or feel free to take and use. Find me at Discord, you can find me at LinkedIn. Send me a follow if you like. Or, yeah. Next one, Jess, please. Oh, God, this is... We'll get better at this by the end of it, I promise. So, agenda today. So, we're going to set the scene. We're going to do some enumeration. We're going to go over some Kerberos, because Kerberos is a big part of Active Directory with authentication. We're going to go over NTLM relay and correlation. Then, once we're going to do lateral movement, priv-esc, and then domain dominance, and then touch on C2 and BOFs and evasion, which is my day job at the moment. Next slide, Jess. So just setting the scene. So this obviously is a third part talk. I've tried to tailor it so you don't have to make sure you watch 101 and 102, but hopefully if you do watch all three, you'll see the full attack chain from basically being an outside attacker all the way into understanding what's in, to basically go full domain admin, if you would, if that's the goal. So the scenario is you have credentials already. So you either got them through phishing, spraying MX365, Microsoft 365, OSINT credentials through leaks, like people selling them online and things like that. Initial foothold for a zero-day exploit or some exploit on their external infrastructure, or in most common cases in pen testing and red team AdSim, if you can't get it from external, the client will provide you credentials. So an assumed breach exercise, if you will. Obviously, any of the 102 pathways here were not covered. The goal here is domain admin, but in real world scenarios, you might not just be going for domain admin. You might be going for finance documents, exfiltration of data, ransomware, simulation, making sure that they've got backups, loads of different things here. So those are attack phase on the right as we kind of go through the presentation. Next one, Jess. Oh, next one, it's fine. Yeah, so enumeration to start with, always enumerate. So it's going to sound really silly, but when I started learning pen testing, I would get a bit too single-minded with, once I got credentials, right now, this is the end goal, right? I wouldn't go back and re-enumerate with those credentials. I would actually just think, all right, this is the only attack path now, where a lot of the times I was wrong, and I would have to go back on myself and re-enumerate with those credentials. So take netexec, for example. So we'll get into netexec quickly, but with netexec, you can start off enumerating with no credentials. So when I'd get credentials somehow, I wouldn't then go back and start enumerating the same way with credentials and start seeing more of the wider area and look at other attack paths. So yeah, enumeration, very important. So I think I touched on briefly on Bloodhound and Sharphand last 102, but it's honestly the go-to tool for mapping out very large environments. So with Active Directory, it is it's the phone book of most companies. I want to say 98% or 99% even companies use Active Directory these days to manage large environments. And when I say large environments, I'm talking like tens of thousands of people you can have, or in fact hundreds of thousands of objects and user groups, and it's massive, right? And it will take you, if without Bloodhound, it will take you a long time to manage to find out any attack paths into there. Welcome. But yes, so with Bloodhound, it's a very good tool to use. So with having credentials on there, you can't really use Bloodhound without those. So it's more of a post-process or an initial foothold tool, if you will. So I've put out some data data collection and essential Cypher queries. So I should have put up a graph, to be honest, of what Bloodhound looks like. But basically, you can run Bloodhound as a low privilege user. And from there, you can enumerate the domain, the Active Directory domain, and you can then see where attack paths might be. So rather than running all these commands on a live system, you can run this collector, and it will then send data from this, obviously, from the domain to your local machine, which you can then search for offline, which is really good. And Bloodhound can search for ASREP roasting attacks, curb roasting attacks, and I think it does ASDC attacks now. I think that's a recent update. And can identify where you can go from your current user that you have to potentially domain admin, or to potentially higher privilege user, and then see what that user has to potentially lead you to domain admin, which is really, really good. It does create a lot of noise though. So if you're on a very, very covert red team, I wouldn't just go straight to Bloodhound. I would initially kind of live off the land a little bit. Next slide, Jess. So yeah, so if Bloodhound's too loud, which if you've ever ran it in a lab, or if you run Bloodhound and run Wireshark, you'll see how loud it is. It's basically sending up a little flare to the SOC if you're not careful. Sorry, I'm recovering from a cold, so bear with me. So yeah, if you can't do that and you're really covert and you want to live on the land, you've got PowerView, which is PowerSploit, LDAP domain dump, and LDAP search, which are all kind of living off the land tools. Or tools that you can sneak onto the box and have a look. So these tools will do stuff similar to Bloodhound, not as in depth, but will definitely give you, like with PowerView, you've got your get domain, so you know where your domain controller is. SPNs for service principal accounts, group and membership, and computers and ACLs and shares and sessions. So if you need, obviously, you want to find out the lay of the land, that sort of tool is really good for you. And it does blend in with real-time traffic, so it isn't really sending out a flare to the SOC. Go on, Jess. Password hunting. So once you get an initial access to the domain, you want to obviously, you've got one account, right? And you don't want to get that burnt. And if you get that burnt, you're going back to step one. So you're like, oh, great. So you want to kind of find, even if it's not domain admin passwords, you want to go, okay, can I find other users' passwords? Can I find other service accounts? Can that lead me then down the path that I need to get to? So you've got Snaffler, which is share trawling for SMB shares. NXC does that as well. You want to find the group policy password. So if you want to do password spraying, again, that can be a loud thing, but you can do it slowly. With red teaming especially, it's slow and steady wins the race. It's not just a pen test where you're going in with a sledgehammer. You want to just tap it and then slowly tap it again. But this is where password hunting can come in. So you can find them in SMB shares, you can find them in group policy passwords. Sometimes admins will create an account for a service they've span up or forgotten about, and they'll leave the password actually in the group policy description of SYN. Again, that leads into AD descriptions. So you can find there with PowerView, does that description give me any inkling of that password? Sometimes it does. Admins can be lazy. Sysbol and scripts, so this leads me to SMB shares. A lot of the time, admins will create a PowerShell script or some other type of script that you might be able to have read and write access to, because they've just left it open to everybody. And you can modify that to get some privilege escalation or find passwords. Key pass files, a lot of people use password managers now. If you're able to grab that and it's open, well, there you go. It's like giving you the keys to the kingdom. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. But these are all kind of areas and where you can hunt for passwords to find other accounts that may lead you to domain admin. Next one, Jess, go on. Yeah, well, let's speak about Kerberos. So Kerberos is excuse me, so I'm going to get a drink before I die.
Oh, you got one.
I talk too quick, that's a problem. So anyway, you got Kerberos abuse. So Kerberos, real quickly, I can speak for the next 2 years about Kerberos, but Kerberos is the go-to authentication method for Windows Active Directory. It's kind of called the three-headed dragon because of how it authenticates. If you want a deeper talk about that, check out 102. Go on, Jess, next one. So with Kerberos, you can do Kerberosing attacks. I have touched on this briefly, so I won't spend too much time here. But these tools here, so you've got Impacket, which is again a very nice Python suite collection of tools for attacking Windows. You've got Rubius, which is if you've just got Windows, you haven't got any Linux systems, and you just got access to PowerShell, you can use and PowerView and invoke Kerberos. So these will grant you can request any ticket granting service ticket for any SPN registered user account, which you can then take offline and crack and get that password for that service user account and authenticate as that as that service account. And from there, you can then start pivoting into service principals, and they typically have a bit of a higher level access than your standard user account, which we currently have. And yeah, the little command at the bottom is like the hashcat if you want to crack that. I've had ranging success with these. I've set it running for like 2 months before, and then like at the last final week, I'm like, oh, I'm going to kill this, and then I get one, and I'm like, oh my god. So obviously time permits from the testing and things. But a lot of attackers that have access to this and they're spending years inside your system, and a lot of these times passwords aren't, service principal passwords are not rotated as frequently, so it's worth spending that time cracking them as opposed to standard user accounts. Next one, Jess, go on. We have ASREP roasting, one of my favorites and easiest, and my first ever kind of attacks that I really learned with Active Directory. So these are accounts that an admin has gone in on purpose and set do not require Kerberos pre-authentication. So that essentially entails that you can, as a standard user, go ahead and request the ticket granting. No, sorry, they're Kerberos password. Is it Kerberos password? Sorry, let me think. No, it's not a Kerberos password. Sorry, they're Active Directory password. So you can crack that and get the ticket and get the hash back. And then you do another crack offline, which is really good. A lot of the times, though, these sorts of attacks don't happen anymore. This is like 2010 to 2016 era, from my understanding. I rarely see this about any these days. Also, for the past two attacks we just discussed, Bloodhound, you can Bloodhound query that and find that out pretty quickly. But these are ways of finding it as well without using Bloodhound if you're trying to be covert. Go on, Jess. Just have a little tap or something. Yeah, so over the pasta hash, so standard pasta hash uses NTLM password hashes. If you want to know more about that, again, 102. Sorry, basically pasta hash use NTLM. A lot of SOCs and a lot of places look for that in their detection. So a lot of this time nowadays, a lot of APTs, or advanced persistent threat vectors, are using OPTH. And obviously are using a crazy NTLM hash that you might have with a Kerberos ticket granting granting full Kerberos authentication to the DC as that affected user. So you don't even need to crack the password if you get this sort of attack path. So again, another covert way, because it's more, if you were sending a clear text password as a service principal account, it might be flagged up because they're used to it being a hash. So it depends how in-depth the defense are going. Go on, Jess. NTLM relay and coercion. This is some of my really fun times, this is. Go on, Jess. Yeah, oh, sorry. I might get a stick next time and just tap my keyboard. So NTLM relay intercepts and authentication and intercepts and relays it to a different server. So this obviously relies on two tools here, so Responder and NTLMX Relay. So if you find that the client has has LMNR enabled, and you can poison it, and you'll get loads of NTLM hashes. And I've had this where I get loads of hashes, but I get no cracks, and I'm like, oh, what do I do now? What you can do is set up NTLM Relay X with Impacket, and then relay that to the LDAP domain, to the domain controller on the LDAP protocol, and all find targets without SMB signing and get either share authentication, or you can use that to deep dive into their LDAP area, because their LDAP in protocol is really actually rich in information, such as usernames, such as other basically dumps everything for you in the domain if you get access to that. It's fantastic. and I'm not really able to get any kind of shells with that, like really good shells, but you can use that for more enumeration. Again, more information we have on the Active Directory domain, the more ways we can identify any weak points or pathways into getting domain admin. Go on, Jess. Or if you, by the way, if you're really lucky, you might have a weak NTLM password with the domain admin account. You can just crack that and you're all good. I had that twice. That was a fantastic time. So authentication, coercion. So coercion is force a target machine, often a DC or server, to initiate an outbound NTLM authentication attack. And basically you're able to grab that password. So these Pettypotman, Spool Sample, Coercer all in one. These are basically post attack tools that you can use to force that to happen. So once you get that, you can get the NTLM hash and again perform a crack, or if it's an LM hash, you can, which is very rare, but I think you can do it. You can then pass the hash with that. So really way of like a lot of ways of getting these hashes and things like that. If you're confused on the hashes, well, I think some of you are in the face, I recommend reading up on it. Windows is full of different authentication methods because it's built from 1990 all the way up to present day, and they're just kind of built on top of legacy stuff, which is really quite a nightmare for admins. Go on, Jess, next one. Lateral movement. So move the network using what you have. So again, if you're able to get a service principal account, if you're able to get multiple username accounts, but they're all kind of in the same group, you want to be able to move through the network quietly. But if you're on a pen test, I guess quietly isn't really your vibe, and you want to get that domain admin or the crown jewels. We'll go into it here. Go on, Jess, go on. Yay. We just spoke about pass the hash using Kerberos, but I still pass the hash using NTLM. That still happens these days, and pass the ticket. So pass the ticket's to do with Kerberos authentication. So say you've got a ticket granting ticket and you want to inject that and basically become that service principal name, you can do with Rubris and Impact it. Again, these tools will link at the end. Go on, Jess, next one. Just going to go over the Impact suite. When I first saw the Impact suite, I was a bit like, what is everything here? And do I need to learn this all? So I thought I'd just put together quite a few tools. I won't go into any in depth, but basically, when you're attacking Active Directory, Impact it will be one of your best top 5 tools to use. You can get it on Windows if you've got a Python interpreter, or if you typically use it in Windows. And there goes the microphone. 1 second. Aha. Tom, I'm blaming you here.
Oh no.
Oh, no. The equipment's failing. Oh, and I'm failing. Yep. Nah, I'm good. There we go. So yeah, the Impact suite, very important. Recommend checking that out if you've got some time, or if you've never heard of it, please go ahead and have a look. Go on, Jess. I think we're getting to tool. Yeah, NetExec. Oh my God, this tool, right? Okay, so if I was in an Active Directory test and I could only bring one tool, this tool is constantly being developed. It was formerly crap MapExec. I think I got pulled up in a report once when it crap MapExec because I was tired typing it. But it's called crack MapExec. But NXC, that's been deprecated. That tool is now called NXC or NetExec. It covers all of the protocols that you will commonly see in an Active Directory domain, and can be used for a wide number of attacks. It is so comprehensive. It even has a Bloodhound ingester. It's not as detailed as the one that you get with Bloodhound itself, but if this is the only tool you've got in a box, honestly, it's like a Swiss Army knife. I didn't believe it when they said it, but it's really, really good, and I recommend you to. It can do credential dumping, remote code execution, share enumeration. It can even attack LDAP and even databases that I found. It's a fantastic tool, and I do actually I donate some money to these guys because they're great. Privileged escalation, yeah. So once you've got tool, I say this is kind of more the focus of this talk is privileged escalation. But as I say, once you've got some different types of credentials, and you want to know, okay, well, this set of credentials does this, or this set of credentials limits me to here. How can I break out of this and get to the top end? So, go on, Jess. We'll go over that. So you've got the Kerberos delegation attacks. I don't know too much about this at the moment. This is something I'm currently researching myself. But basically, Kerberos and unconstrained delegation with any service impersonates any user to any target. DA authentication to the host, so basically you can pretend to be a certain user. You've got constraint delegation and resource-based constraint delegation. Yeah. I put this in here because I'm currently researching it, but again, Kerberos is that authentication method that you want to focus on the most. Go on, Jess, I'll have to come back to that. Shadow credentials, so I'll know a bit more about this. So shadow credentials abuses the MSD's key credential link used by Windows Hello for Business, which is more found in Windows 10 and Windows 11, which is really good for us, as attackers. Requires write or write DLCL on the target. So if you're able to find someone with this, you are able to impersonate them and request the TGT and NTLM hash, which you can go back. And if you're able to find a user account with high privilege and you find shadow credentials, you can get to impersonate them, which you can then use to further advance your attack. LBAP's abuse. Sorry, I wrote this at like 2 o'clock this morning. LSAP stores random local admin passwords in the AD. For specific groups, but these groups are often too missed on real engagements. This is more found in your generic kind of CTF engagements, but it's still worth having a look if you're running out of time, not running out of time, but running out of options or running out of aware. And it's good to be aware of. You might find a lot of clients don't really look at their laps, and you might find a lot of clients don't really pay attention, or maybe the administrator doesn't know. Not every administrator knows everything about Active Directory. They might manage other things, but I digress. But it's recommend having a look at this, and obviously, again, NetExec can obviously do that for you and check who can read laps. And if you've got an account that can read it, you can do a lot with it. Go on, Jess. GMCA abuse. So GMCAs have their password automatically managed by the DC and only readable by authoritarian computers or groups. If you find yourself in this, you can compromise, you can compromise that principal in that group. You get the password. Another way of keeping yourself in that environment if other accounts get burnt. And often or not, these accounts have other read access and other write profiles over other higher privilege accounts. So this will be a really good way of upgrading your privileges. Go on, Jess. Yay, domain dominance. So we'll go with desync attacks, golden tickets. My favorite ADCS, thank God to our Bloodhound, I forget the name. Spectre Ops, thank you, Tom. Hey, is it? Yep, thank you, yeah. And cross trust. So desync and credential dumping. With this attack, I've only done it in a lab. The reason I say that is it can disrupt the domain controller and it can cause crashes. I have seen it crash a real-time box and the client wasn't very happy. Thank God it wasn't me. But as I say, so basically this attack can pull all of the NTLM hashes, LM hashes, no nts.dit file required. So this would be a really good way if you find this attack to pull out all of the user accounts and you can basically impersonate them and you've got the keys to the kingdom if you find that attack on a DC. As I say, high risk, high reward with this one. Recommend checking with the client to make sure they're happy with it, because you don't want to run it and it crashes and then you get an angry call from your boss or the client at the worst. Go on, Jess. Golden and silver tickets. So there's different levels of tickets regarding Kerberos. I might do my next talk on just Kerberos, But yeah, sorry, with the golden ticket, you can forge a TGT using the KerbGT hash. Any user, any service, any time, survives password reset. So if the user resets their password, you've still got access to their account. Does require, though, the NTLM hash and the domain SID, and you can pull it off with that then. For silver, still used and still valuable, even though you might think, oh, I just want the golden. But it's for a specific service, so on the actual domain directory. Contains the KDC, target, and all the services there. And it's for persistent access for certain individual services. With the golden ticket, though, you're basically set. You got everything. So that's for domain dominance anyway. Next, ADCS. So there's 8 ADCSs. I think there's a 9 coming out. I've seen that on Twitter, I think. But this is mostly with ADCS. So Spectre Ops did a really good white paper that I recommend you read on this. Because when I first read about it, I was like, what is this? And they did a really good white paper, I think about 45 pages long, and it goes through all the different templates here. I could be here till next Christmas talking about this, but it's a really kind of good new attack path way of getting either domain admin from a standard user or a standard attack vector. You see, Certify is a tool that you use to kind of look for this. It's a really cool tool. I recommend you check it out on GitHub or have a play around in your own lab. But you find a lot of, because templates are often overlooked by domain admins or by administrators that sort all this out, they don't actually tend to look at this until a pen test comes and you find it and you get there and you find all this and they're like, oh, we need to fix this. So yeah, sometimes it's a good way to see if a client's actually hardening their environment. Go on, Jess. Oh yeah, AdSim, SD holder, and cross-domain trust. So this is about persistent backdoors and inter-forest escalation. I could do a 104 talk on multi-forest, but we're just treating this engagement that there's one forest, one domain. But this kind of talks about going to a template container for whose ACL is propagated to all protected groups within every single domain. So if you compromise this and there's another domain, you'll have access to that as well. Cross-domain trust abuse. So if you find that you've got access to an account that has access to another domain, you can start pivoting into there if the engagement allows. Go on, Jess. Sorry, I don't want to spend all... So C2, BOFs and evasion. So I'm still learning this myself. I know bits about C2s. I wish my friend Matt was here for BOFs and evasion. But we'll touch briefly on it, just so you're aware of it. So we've got some common C2 frameworks here. You would still use these in a pen test. You definitely use these in a red team engagement. I often use Silver or Chisels as like a proxy VOM, but you can Silver, Mythic's good as well, but Havoc. And it basically, these C2 frameworks, they have a lot of built-in tools that make your job here a lot easier. So if you've got beacons set up in their environment, callbacks, it makes the setup and the engagement run a lot smoother. I'm sure we've all heard the term C2 frameworks. You've got Cobalt Strike. I've never had a pleasure to play with Cobalt Strike. I don't know if anyone has, but it's expensive. If you've got a license, let me know. Go on, Jess. So boss in memory and execution. I won't go too much into this, but I just wanted to touch on it because basically a lot of attacks pre-2016, forgive me, for all my time, were attacks that were written to disk, and a lot of blue teams and a lot of digital forensics people were finding this. So attackers kind of actually changed their way to living inside memory and new attacks that were living inside RAM. So just some examples there of what you can do is running, like you can dump nts.dit files, you can dump processing RAM, and all that stuff is obviously dumped back to your terminal and is living in their system RAM. So it's very hard for them to detect. They're definitely catching up, and so for example, like DLL sideloading has definitely been found a bit more because you need to, I think you need to write bits to disk, but that's been found more. But in a lot of organizations, they don't have the funding for that sort of tech, so this sort of stuff can really help you stay under the radar in a full red team. ANSI bypass, I did an exam recently where this really annoyed me. Really annoyed me actually, but it's getting really good. You might find a lot of the time that when you run tools that we've already spoken about, like PowerView, Windows tools, running PowerShell scripts, you'll get caught by ANSI bypass, especially if you're trying to run a stager payload. Your stager might get caught on that end. So being able to bypass ANSI is very important. I put some kind of stuff in there to show you where you can look for stuff that will help you on an engagement if you find yourself being caught by Windows Defender or having your payloads eaten and you're like, I'll just put that on disk, where's it gone? And it's just been eaten. But as I say, with newer stuff coming out, it has a lifespan. Typically I think 6 months to a year for the new bypasses, and then Microsoft get wise to it, patch it, and the dog and tail method keeps going back and forth. Go on, Jess, next one. Oh yeah, cool. So I just thought I'd put together quite a cool cheat sheet. I find with a lot of talks, people talk about a lot of tools I've used and things like that, but necessarily don't always give out where to look or what to find. So I put this tool cheat sheet up. I will put the slides on my GitHub if you want to go and have a deep dive afterwards. But yeah, I just thought that'd be helpful for everyone. Key takeaways, enumerate for everything else. Bloodhound, Power View, if we touch anything, everyone knows the path you will walk. Look for passwords, don't go too complex. I have a bad habit of going really technical first and just thinking, oh, I need to do this. And when, to be honest with you, it's staring me right in the face. So look for passwords, people write down passwords. Human errors, often the one that tips a domino. Relay is often easier than cracking. As I say, with the Kerberos ticket injection and NTLM relays, a lot easier to relay than it is to crack because you've got to wait for cracking. You've got to have a nice GPU, which is less common these days. Thank you, AI. You rarely need the plain text if you can relay. ADCS is honestly really genuinely overlooked so much right now, and I would honestly recommend, if you're on an engagement, looking for that very quickly rather than looking for the more common attack paths that might have already been covered by previous testers. Yeah, AdSim holder is really good for persistent access. Use a C2. A lot of places are moving away, are still using C2s, and you'll still see APTs using C2s in real life. Yeah, that's all really. I think that's it. Yeah, perfect. It's all right. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm sweating. Thank you all.